Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia.
And we don't like to go to school. Did you?
I like to play hooky instead.
Have you ever played hooky?
Probably, but I'm old. I don't remember that.
I never did.
That's my excuse for anything now.
There's two reasons I never played hooky. One, because my parents would have caught me.
Right.
And two, I was trying to get that perfect attendance award.
Okay. Low-hanging fruit. Interesting.
I get it. You get what you get.
I got the perfect A award, okay? A's across the board.
Okay, well, some of us weren't smart. All right, so hooky, though, is a deduction game. See this? This is the sheet you get during the course of the game. You are, if you like maybe a game like Wordle, this is using 5-letter words where you're trying to figure out 3 missing letters. This was designed by James Miller, who passed away a couple years ago at a very young age. Very, very nice person. I considered him a friend of mine. He actually, the first time I ever went to Origins, let me stay in his room.
Yeah.
That's a friend. He passed away, and then the proceeds of this game are going to help the Friends of Asima, which is a education for poor kids in Mumbai. So keep that in mind. But that's out of the situation here. I want to know, is it a fun game? Let's take a look first at how it plays. In this game, there are 26 cards, each showing a different child, starting with a different letter of the alphabet, and all you care about is the letter of the alphabet. You're going to shuffle this. 3 of these cards will be placed off to the side. These are the 3 cards you're trying to guess what they are. These are the people playing hooky from school. The rest of the cards will be dealt out to everyone playing the game, and any leftover cards will be placed in the middle of the table. The game is going to take place over 6 rounds. After the first rounds happen, these cards in the middle will be revealed, so everyone will know some letters that are not the hooky letters, but the rest you'll know. At that point, you're going to be taking a look at this sheet here, and this is kind of where you're going to be stuck on the rest of the game. The letters that you get, so let's say I got X, G, O, Y, and I'd cross them off up here because I know they're not the hooky letters. But also, I'd write each of my opponent's names here. I would cross the letters off here because I know they don't have those letters, only I do. Each player then must make up a 5-letter word, which can be a proper noun. It has to be a proper noun that people know. I could use Peggy, for example. And if I used Peggy as my word, I would have to give the number 3 because there's 2 G's in Peggy and there's 1 Y. So I would say 3. So people would know 3 of the letters in Peggy are in my hand. Now that could be EGG, it could be PGG, it could be EPEY. So it doesn't, people don't know. And I probably shouldn't give out a word that gives that many letters away. I would probably give out one that just had 1 letter in my word. Like maybe I would say grape, and just the G is in my word. So that's a starting word. Everyone's going to write that down. Everyone has to give 1 starting word. Then in each round of the game, you will ask somebody else a word. You give someone a word and they have to tell you the number of letters that matches. So if someone comes to me and says happy, I would look at this and I would say 1 because there's 1 Y in happy. And if they give me a word that I have none of the letters, I would say 0. You could say 0 through 5. If you say 5, though, that's pretty impressive. And so you can ask anybody at the table, and each person will go around and ask one other person, but everyone else will hear it. So you write the word down and the number that they say, and slowly you'll be able to cancel letters off of them. If you cancel a letter off all your opponents, you'll know it's one of the hooky letters. At the end of round 4, 5, and 6, you will guess the 3 hooky letters. You can guess the same letters each time or different ones. That's up to you. And then at the very end of the game, you're going to guess the letters of each of your opponents. Once that happens, after 6 rounds, these cards will be revealed. Oh, look, it's A, Q, and Z. And let's say in my first guess, I guessed A, H, M. And my second letter, I guessed B, C, D. So I didn't get any right on the second guess. The first one, I got 1 of them right. That's 5 points. And the final guess, I get 10 points for each one I get correct. I also get 1 point for every letter of an opponent I guess correctly. And whoever has the most points is the winner. That's the game. Each round there will be a different starting player. Well, they'll use this meeple, which looks like it was taken from another game and thrown in there. Each player has a very big, giant shield here that explains the rules of the game and goes around this. There's one other minor rule here. It's an optional rule, But over the course of the game, you can reveal a card from your hand, showing everybody what you have, and then you take another card from a player randomly, and you even put it back in their hand randomly. They don't know which one you took, and you can see someone else's card. So one time, for example, someone asked me the word sassy, and I said 3. Well, at that point, that guarantees I have the letter S. So I was like, well, since everyone knows I have S, I might as well show it, and look at this. It doesn't happen. I've played games where this has never happened over the course of the game. But that's it. That's how you play the game, and whoever has the most points wins. So after I played this, I told Z about it. I figured that this would be something you might be interested in because there's very few pure deduction games out there.
They just don't make them. They don't make them very much.
And I know why. Because it's not a huge group of people who want to play them.
Sure.
Lots of people like playing Wordle, which is a deduction game of sorts, but it is very simple. One word, you put the letters in.
It's 5 minutes.
It's mastermind with letters, and people really like it, and that's worked across the board. This is like if you're playing Wordle, but there's 3 different words, and the words aren't words. They're just a grouping of 5 letters, which makes it harder to guess. You have to use straight deduction. You can't be like, well, this is the only word it could be.
Yeah, you don't get it's not mastermind, right? They are telling you how many letters are in the word. You know which ones you have. You've hopefully figured out a couple of letters as some of the other players at the table have. It is pure deduction with the trappings of a word game, which is a really interesting combination of 2 genres that, again, neither one gets a lot of love on its own, and they're brought together here into a brand new, I gotta say, pretty innovative package.
I think so. This has... When I was telling people, I'm like, oh, you like Wordle? But the only thing that this feels like to me is an old game from Sid Saxon called Sleuth.
It feels like Sleuth, which was this pure deduction game trying to figure out what's missing. And that idea has been around since Clue, right? The idea of figure out which thing got removed at the beginning. But Clue is very lucky, very random in many ways, and this is not that. This is, like Sleuth, pure deduction, really taking good notes, really understanding what you're asking, what other people are asking, why they're asking it. Just great note-taking. This is a game that you want to sit down, have a quiet, thinking night with your cup of tea and your brain turned on. If you love word games, you like Scrabble, you're a Scrabble player, you enjoyed Clue, this is going to be right up your alley.
It is not an easy game.
Yeah.
I have yet to get all 3 Hooky letters. Mm-hmm. I've gotten 2 and guessed at the third. I had it like down to 50-50. That's the closest I've gotten.
Yeah.
Words are the delivery system, but it's not the be-all, end-all. So if you're someone who's like, I have a hard time thinking of words, I don't think that's a problem here per se. I mean, you could think of a 5-letter word to give someone as a clue, especially since you can use proper names.
Yeah.
But you don't have to sit there and go, what is the word? No, you're looking for what are the letters.
Yes.
Which is a different thing. It's easier with fewer players because there's less information to keep track of. With 3 players, each person has 7 cards. With 4 players, each person has 5. And with 5 players, each person has 4.
That gets nasty. Yeah, for sure. I certainly would prefer this at 3. More than that, my brain starts to leak out of my ear. So the game's not, it's light rules-wise, but it's thinky. Very, very thinky.
And you mentioned there's no luck. I would argue there's a slight bit of luck in sometimes someone gets asked a word and they're like 4 or something. That can happen. And then everyone at the table will stop asking that person any more questions because they figured it out, which will make the whole game a little easier.
Right, sure. I get that.
Because that's one less player being asked questions because most people know what their letters are. And I think that rule of being able to show a card and then look at someone else's, it's a nice counter for that if someone does just get lucky and figure out your letters. You're like, well, people already know mine. So I might as well.
I do like that rule a lot, actually, and I used it quite a bit myself. I do like that those moments can happen, though. It brings some levity to the proceedings here, because the game can be very dry. It's a quiet, ponderous game. I will say, I think the look on the cover of the game, unfortunately, I think will not. This cover doesn't look like it contains this game. And I worry that it's not going to do as well as it could have, as it probably should do, because the cover looks like a kid's game. And this is really not a children's game. It's a thinky, maybe kids could play, but they need to be really, really sharp, and certainly older kids. So I am concerned about that a little bit. Hopefully, watching this kind of video, finding out about the game is going to drive it to more folks that could get a real kick out of this.
What would you give it?
This is a tricky one because it's such a unique genre. If you don't like this kind of game, I could give this an 11 out of 10, and it doesn't matter. You won't like this kind of game. You know what I mean? But because they make so few of these, because this one's so clever and interesting and so well done with so few moving parts, it's super clean. I'm gonna put this all the way up at an 8. I think this is really strong, man. They just don't make them like this. They really don't. How many choices do you have for a game like this? If you like word games and you like deduction, I can't think of another one right off the bat.
Yeah, maybe the new fiction game, which is basically Wordle, the board game.
Yeah, paperback. It's not deduction. It's got words. I mean, Scrabble and Clue. Yeah, this is very, very good.
I feel the same way, except I'm higher than that. I'm actually giving this a 9.
Yeah.
I have been playing this almost nonstop for the past 2 weeks. Finding anybody, like you like puzzles, you like deduction. Because there's so few. And again, I do realize, if you're watching this, you are probably a small... there's going to be a lot of people who even will skip this video.
Yeah, if you didn't make it this far, then that's fine because you know this isn't for you. Yeah.
But if I'm going to just have to shout the word out there, I think it's great. I mean, it's nice taking it out. It's nice that the game is all the proceeds are going to charity.
Yes, absolutely.
And a nice charity. That's a cool thing. And when I heard about that, I said, man, I sure hope the game's good because I wouldn't want to say a negative thing about a game giving to charity. But I'm on the other extreme where I think it's a great game. A great game for me.
Yes.
My wife and I both really like this game. There are other people. I just went to a puzzle convention. Very convenient timing. The people there really like this game. But my kids, I showed them this, and they were like, oh, we love Wordle. I was like, well, what do you think of this? Oh, no, what else is there?
Yeah.
Because they don't like the deduction part of it. I thrive on that. So if you like heavy deduction games, and this is, as light as this is, it's going to feel heavy because you'll be like, okay, if I cross a letter out here and here, and oh, and then you start circling things. You have your own little notation on the sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it. So
there you go.
9 for Hooky. Thanks for watching. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia.
Stay in school, kids.
That's right.